Hi, Pam Kinneberg here with facepaint.com. Today I'm going to talk about different ways that you can use to apply your stencils. The most common method is to use a sponge. And so I take a sponge and I spray the sponge and rub it over my paint, trying to get a consistency that's neither too wet or too dry. Oftentimes when my sponge sort of sticks to the paint, I feel it's a good application. I also test it on the back of my hand to make sure to double check that it's not too wet. If it's too wet, it'll bleed underneath the sponge and you'll have a mess. What you want is a nice crisp image once you take the sponge off. So tap your sponge over the stencil, trying to get all the areas covered. If you have little tiny areas, I will rub my sponge from side to side just to get in those little areas. Hold the sponge down firmly. That's also a very important thing to do. So when you lift it, you should have a clean application. The second method I'm going to use is a finger dauber. Finger dauber, you can put it right on your fingertip and it has a little round sponge on the end of it. And I load that with paint the same way I would do a sponge. Just spray the sponge and rub it in the paint to load the end of that finger dauber. Again, test it on the back of your hand to make sure the consistency is right, and then dab it over the stencil, turning it, twisting it to get into the smaller spaces. So that works pretty much the same as the sponge. It just gives you a little bit more control to use the finger dauber because it's a smaller sponge. Next, I'm going to show you how to use powders with your stencils. And I'm going to paint a small area with paint. And I'm also going to put a little bit of Elisa Griffiths primer over the skin. And then finally, I'll show you on bare skin. When you use powders, they tend to work better with stencils that have smaller areas, smaller spaces, rather than really large ones. So I'll be showing you one with a dot pattern. I'm using black star blends with a flat top kabuki brush for the first application of this. So lay it down firmly against the skin and load your kabuki brush with powder and then just rub it over. Powders tend to give a little bit more softer feel and softer look. Now I'm going to apply it over the area I put the primer on using a smoothie blender. Loaded with black star blends. See how where the concealer is tends to come out, or the primer I guess it is, comes out a little darker. It just really makes that powder stick better to the skin. The third thing, I'll just show you what it looks like on regular skin using the smoothie blender and black star blends. Different powders and different brands will work differently, so try them out first. And that works great. Hope you learned a lot. Happy painting!